PIÑATA is the first collaboration album between producer Madlib and rapper Freddie Gibbs. We've recently been treated to a new deluxe version of this album filled with instrumentals, remixes, and previous loose singles that have appeared on a string of EPs. It has brought PIÑATA back into the collective hip-hop consciousness, and now is a better time than ever to revisit one of the best hip-hop albums of the last decade. 7 years have now passed since 2014, and in that time period, both Madlib and Freddie Gibbs have been extremely prolific. Madlib had already been very consistent and prolific in 10-15 years prior to PIÑATA's release, but it's really Freddie Gibbs who has used this album as a stepping stone to evolve into a completely new artist. Recognized as one of the most technically gifted, vivid storytellers of his generation pretty much, Freddie Gibbs has made sure that people can't look back to PIÑATA and think of it as some sort of fluke. PIÑATA's sequel that dropped in 2019, Bandana, is just as strong as their first collaboration, and some people even deem it superior. Alfredo, that dropped in 2020 with another legendary hip-hop producer in the shape of The Alchemist, is just as widely beloved as Bandana and maybe even PIÑATA, and has landed Freddie Gibbs his first ever Grammy nomination. But when speaking on this nomination, Gibbs has clearly not forgotten where he has come from and the project that essentially transformed his career. He's claimed that this nomination is just as much Madlib's as it is anyone else's. That transformation all starts from PIÑATA. His album that preceded it the year before, ESGN, established Freddie Gibbs as a strong rapper, but it was kind of just simply that. There wasn't anything really to make him stand out that gave him his unique voice yet. He didn't have that sense of perspective that he has now. PIÑATA on paper was a risky move. Madlib was well accustomed to working with more left field abstract artists in the hip hop world. He's essentially the underground critical darling. Freddie Gibbs was and still is to a certain extent a quote unquote gangster rapper using those overblown, loud, trap leaning beats. These two artists coming together is basically the equivalent of today if you had someone like G Herbo collaborating on an album with Flying Lotus. But against all the odds, this unorthodox marriage of contrasting sounds couldn't have worked better. Madlib's expert, vintage, soulful style of production forming the backdrop for Freddie Gibbs's violent but very detailed depiction of gangster lifestyle was a genius move. At over an hour long, PIÑATA in the hands of lesser artists would feel like a slog, definitely, but because Madlib and Gibbs bring so much dynamism and diversity to these songs, it feels like half that runtime. Both artists are at the peak of their powers on almost every single track. If you take Bomb, for example, Madlib's sampling of the Italian progressive rock band Goblin is genius. Freddie Gibbs on this song is insane. It's so violent and detailed, but the thing that separates him from just your day-to-day generic gangster rapper is he never attempts to glamorize what he's talking about. It's just the depiction and his experiences of what he's going through. He never makes this lifestyle sound appealing, and that's apparent by the way he ends both of his verses. The way he ends the first verse is him saying, "Fuck these niggas talking, leave their thoughts on my shoestrings." The second verse ends with, "Eventually the penitentiary gonna see me later, kiss my mama, told her if I die, then it was part of nature." There's this sinking feeling and theme to this song that all the negative things that are going to happen to Freddie Gibbs in his lifetime are an inevitability as a byproduct of the trap gangster lifestyle. Not to mention Raekwon rounds out this song with an expected extremely strong verse. PIÑATA isn't necessarily strung together by an overarching narrative or anything like that, but rather it plays out as short little snippets or glimpses into Freddie Gibbs's day-to-day life. As for Madlib, he undoubtedly provides some of the best beats that he has ever produced in his career. Thuggin's twinkling guitar sample and driving bass line, Shame's classic soul sampling, and Uno's dark, otherworldly synths. There's every mood that you can imagine on this album, and that's thanks to Madlib. And I find it hard to specifically pinpoint what it is that makes Madlib's beat production, especially on Pinata, is so good because when you go and look at the source samples and then you compare it against the beat that he's made from these samples, it's relatively simple. It's his ear, it's his knack for picking out and rearranging and creating these new grooves and pockets. And he creates these kind of beats that are fluid and loose and organic, and it takes a certain caliber of rapper to ride these kind of beats. Madlib has said himself that he took a Dilla-esque approach to production on Pinata in the sense that he didn't quantize any of these beats, but Freddie Gibbs seems to ride the beat perfectly on every single song. That can only mean that Gibbs spent a very long period of time with each of these beats. He learnt them inside out and he knew every single nook and cranny to these instrumentals. Every word, every syllable, every bar has its very specific place. Of course, it's all well and good being technically proficient with your lyricism and your wordplay, but at the end of the day, music is about an emotional response. And if you don't have that, your music can sound cold and calculated. Thankfully, Gibbs is easily able to marry his insane technical prowess with vivid, at times emotionally vulnerable storytelling. None more so than on the song Deeper. It's a song all about the consequences that his lifestyle that he leads has on personal human relationships. This relationship that he talks about falls apart as he's in jail, and then he comes out of jail and he's feeling somewhat insecure because the new partner that his former lover has is seen as this kind of person that is straight-edged. And because of the way he's feeling, he starts to overcompensate and starts bragging about the bitches he's fucking, how much money he has, and so on. He packs so much into a song that's just over 3 minutes. He's even able to weave in a twist ending about him fathering a child by the time it comes to its end. Gibbs, on this song specifically, pulls back some of the curtain to reveal this very human person behind the gangster facade. However, if you're looking for straight up gangster rap and pure hedonism and decadence, that isn't in short supply on this album either. Real is possibly my favourite diss track of the last few years, with some scathing bars about his former employer Jeezy, and halfway through it has an unexpected but amazing beat switch. High with Danny Brown is, as you would expect, it's about being high, having sex, all the drugs, all the money, but even on songs like this, he still finds a way to portray himself in a way that's not just one-dimensional. The way Gibbs describes being high, he describes the good that comes with it and the bad that comes with it. He lays it out on the table very honestly. Danny Brown on the feature brings his one-of-a-kind energy and adds that extra dimension to this song. Danny Brown is one of a string of really interesting features on this album. The features are all very different rappers from one another, and they kind of exist in different corners of the rap world. Former Odd Future members Domo Genesis and Earl Sweatshirt make an appearance on the Super Smooth Robes. Seasoned veterans and legends of the rap game like Raekwon on Bomb or Scarface on Broken make appearances. Michi Darko from Flatbush Zombie makes an appearance, as well as the late Mac Miller. It's like Freddie Gibbs and Madlib had two intentions with the features that they selected. The first one being just to work with some of the most talented rappers in the game, but also to act as a bridge between all these different subgenres of rap. Danny Brown and Michi Darko are the high-energy, eccentric voices in alternative hip-hop. Raekwon and Scarface are recognized as two of the best rappers to ever pick up a microphone. Earl Sweatshirt and Domo from Odd Future were two members of maybe the most pioneering hip-hop group of the 2010s. Gibbs and Madlib coming together was two worlds colliding, so it only makes sense that they would want to continue that trend with their collaborators. And I think that's something that both artists have taken with them in the years after Piñata. They want, and I feel they kind of need to, collaborate with people that are outside their perceived world of music. Freddie Gibbs has gone on to work with Tyler the Creator, Griselda, Injury Reserve, Tom Mitch, all these people that exist in completely different spaces of music. Madlib has been doing this to a certain extent as well. He's been working with everyone from Loyal Kana to Anderson .Paak, or from Kanye West to Fortet. That's the legacy of Piñata for me. Freddie Gibbs reinvented himself as a rapper and as an artist, and Madlib evolved to continue his already insane longevity. I'm still of the opinion that this is the best work of both respective artists, and I feel it's aging like a fine wine. In retrospect, I firmly believe that Freddie Gibbs in 10, 20 years' time will be looked at as one of the greatest lyricists of his generation, in the same way that Madlib is revered for his production. And for me, that doesn't happen without PIÑATA existing as the catalyst. Those are my thoughts on this classic album. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Make sure to like, subscribe, and dong the bell, and I will see you next time.